Good morning or good afternoon. Thank you, Haley, for the introduction, and thank you all for joining us today. We are going to look into Sage Intacct dashboards and dimensional reporting. As a first step, let's take a look at what are dimensions. Our presentation today is focused towards both prospects and existing Sage Intacct clients. Let us walk through some slides prior to our product overview to fully prepare you. Most legacy financial environments, chart of accounts take a linear approach to its structure. Let's take office supplies, for example. You may need to track different departments related to this expense account. In Sage Intacct, we provide dimensions instead of segments. We do not just track departments. We have a total of 8+ dimensions. We have location, department, class, vendor, customer, employee, and item as standard dimensions, project, warehouse, and contract as specialty dimensions, task or cost code as dependent to project module, and cost type or contracts module. If these are not enough, we can add user-defined custom dimensions. Some of most commonly used dimensions are facilities and channel. These dimensions can be used in reports and workflows to provide the business insights in real time to the appropriate personnel in your organization. The dimensions will establish the who, where, and what of the transactions and are not attached to your chart of accounts, rather defaulted and tagged to transactions. Once each transaction is tagged with the dimensions, the general ledger becomes your source for all your reporting needs. We can capture and filter transactions in one or more dimensions. We call this cross-dimensional reporting. In addition, we can also create dimensional hierarchy and grouping. Here's an important point. We can repurpose these dimensions to match your organization's requirements. For example, class is a common dimension that is renamed in most of our customer environments. And for our not-for-profit clients, we rename them to either programs or funds or any other preference that they may have. Let's take a deeper look at the sample account office supplies. In a transaction that is to this account, you have a value, actual or budget, and a date of transaction. In Intacct, we can additionally tag a vendor, an employee, a location, a department, class or a division, a product or services, and projects. And if required use of custom dimensions, we could add them as well. On the left, we have default dimensions, and we can repurpose to match your requirement. As you can see, it changes to add or rename these existing dimensions to something that applies or make more sense to your business. Okay, moving on. In Intacct, we can have role-based dashboards that will provide required insights into the organization's activities. As a user, you can design or modify the dashboards that provide critical and timely information to you. These dashboards are connected to real-time data, grouped or filtered by dimensions. Dashboards also provide visibility by drilling down into source transactions. So let's see how it'll work in Intacct. So let me just maybe turn off my camera so you could have full view of the Intacct screen. All right. So here we are looking at some sample data. My date is December 31st, 2018. and I have sample data for a company here, and that's showing dimensional based information. We can look at all entities. As you see, I have a setup for configuration for all entities. Now I can also go in and filter by certain customer type. So if I go and select a customer type like security industry and apply that filter, now all these numbers change and the values only apply to those filtered values. As you can see, all the graphs and rest of the information all changed. Now, while I'm in the customer type, I also have the ability to change it to item type. I could group them by items as well. So I'm grouping it further. So now I have multiple dimensional filtering, and that shows information for you. Now, I could also, not only just groups, I could pick specific item. So let me clear that all item or specific item and type in a specific item and look at the sales of that item throughout the company as a company-wide, how we did in December for that particular item. So as you could see, with one dimensional dashboard, we have the ability to provide different insights to different staff members or the company as a whole. Let me show you also, if I clear this, all items, and go into the customer, we also have not just customers or customer types, we have the ability to look up salespeople. So we could also look at salespeople information. I have picked up sales rep Lisa, and here it gives you information on how Lisa did in the month of December compared to the previous month. I could also look at a specific customer if I like, and look at the customer sales. Also look at a region, so I have a grouping by region, and I'm able to drill into and look at those values as well. So one design, multiple views, slice and dice data. Okay, now while I'm here, I want to show you that these are not just numbers that are changing. These are actually linked to transactions in the background. As you could see, this is billings by customer, and now that shows on the top each customer under the criteria I specified. And all this information I'm able to drill into. So I could pick universal alarms for 444,000, drill into that number, and pick any of those entries related to December and go look at the source document. And that's a journal entry. I'm going into the sales invoice, and let's view the sales invoice, and that tells me here is the actual invoice and all the other items or the full transaction of the sales invoice, and here are the items purchased on that invoice. So with dashboards, we have full dimensions attached to transactions that flow into reports and dashboards. So let me close out of here and go back into the dashboard view, and let's take a look at this dashboard here. Now, this is not just sales numbers on the top. There's billings by customer and revenue by location. These are different entities you may have or different locations within an entity, and revenue by channel. And I also have revenue by item. Okay, so these different dimensions show. In addition to that, I also have a report that's collapsed here, which I could just expand here, which is revenue trend by active customers. All these reports and dashboards are drillable right into the source. Let me keep moving forward here and show you the similar example in financial reports or reportings. So this is one type of dashboard. For example, for a finance department, this dashboard is great for sales department. If you want to have a dashboard for financial departments, let's see inter-entity reconciliation, I have the ability to look at that as well. So a controller or a CFO might be looking at a dashboard that's inter-entity. Okay, so let me switch into the financial reports. With Sage Intacct, you do get about 30 pre-built financial reports. You could install them at any time by going into the financial reports library and clicking on install, and duplicate them, modify them, and use them. I'm going to today just start one from scratch. And I'm going to call it BAASS Connect. And I'm going to call it sales because we were looking at sales numbers. So I'm going to create sales reports. Okay, so it's revenue. I'm going to pick up revenue account group. I'm going to include that. And then I'm going to go into the filter. I'm going to select all entities. I'm going to put the date of 2018, December. And I'm going to also filter and group by items and customers. And that's what I did with the dashboard. So I'm going to do the same here. And now I'm going to go into the columns and let's take a quick preview of what I have done so far. So within seconds, I was able to do a sales report for the month ending December. Now, this is a great report. It gives me revenue by products and by category groups, but I want to take this report. Now I want to expand it by customer. Okay, so I'm going to set that up. And so let's take a look at it now. Now I have the same report identified by each customer and giving me the final grand total for December. Okay, so I'm going to save this and let's go in and run this report. So now this report is saved. I'm going to just click run here. And then now I have the same functionality you saw in the dashboard, which is by customer. So let's go pick by customer type. Let's go by actually the salesperson and look at her sales by customer. So these are the customers Lisa sold to in December. Okay, I go back to the filter. Now select maybe an item. Item 106. Let's see how we did company-wide and who are the customers that bought this item. Again, we have the ability to drill into these values by clicking on the dollar amount and takes you all the way to the actual source document, in this case, which is a sales invoice. Okay, so I'm gonna pause here and see if there's any questions. And if you have enough time, Haley, give me the heads up. I will also show you the custom report writer.
Okay, so I do have two questions that have come in. Did you want to do those two questions or did you want to show that reporter?
Yeah,
okay.
Let's do the questions.
So one of the questions is, are we able to maintain dimensions as customers or do we need BAASS?
Yes, so as part of the implementation, we do work with you and identify the dimensions and configurations. But once we do that, you have the ability to go and add the dimensions. For example, here are the departments. You could simply go in here, if you have the security right to do so, add a new department. And same thing, you could add class, and as you add the customers, you don't need to maintain anything else for the customers, employees, and vendors. But for the departments, as you add departments, you will add. As you add a class, you will add. And you could also do the groupings for them in here by doing the dimensional groups and dimensional structures for reporting purposes.
Another question we have is, do we need BAASS to create the report and the dashboard for us, or can we create it ourselves?
That's a great question. So out of the box, there are several dashboards that come out, and most of our customers take the existing dashboards and modify them, but you can create dashboards from scratch. So let me just show you quickly how you're able to add dashboards. You can simply go in here, click the plus, and start a component from scratch. There are several options here, whether it's financial, it's a graph, or a record, or a report that you have already created, you could link into the dashboard. You also could put approvals screens in the dashboards. So there are several options available. You also have the ability to duplicate by cloning an existing dashboard, adding filters and security to that dashboard, and allowing other users to use it.
Another question we have is, for multiple entities, does each entity become a component within the dimension levels?
Yes, that's a very good question. As you could see, let me just clear this here. The locations. In Intacct, we link the locations into entities. So in reality, this is entities and locations. So it is a natural parent and child relationship. So you could either look at it from an entity point of view, or you could look at a location underneath that entity.
So those are the questions that we have had come in so far. I do hope that we've been able to answer all of those to everybody's satisfaction. So if you want, we do still have some time, Paraman, if you want to show
Very good.
that extra report section.
Thank you very much. I want to make sure I cover everything in the given time. So the other option, we've looked at dashboards, we've looked at the financial reporter. The other option we have in Intacct is custom reports. So let me just go in there. And for ease of use, what I have done, I have created a custom report, and I call it AP bill cash requirement by department. We have some not-for-profit agencies always ask, okay, I need to know my cash requirement by department. It is very important. And you as an end user are able to design these reports. You could simply go in, I selected the AP bill as a source, and then I'm going in and selecting the fields I need. And as a next step, I could add calculated columns. I didn't put any. And now I could select the column sequence. And I could also go in and put in column totals and then sorting order. And as you could see, it's visit driven. You could put filters and then go on to do groupings if you have any groupings. And you could put, so I have grouping by department ID. That's what I wanted, and it's in ascending order. And finally, I could put some defaults, how I want this popping up. And then I could save this and publish it for everybody to use. This is actually a graph as well as a report. So here's how I want the X and Y axis. And then going on to show additional prompts. And then finally, I have the name of the report and adding it to the menu, and I could tell it which module, which area I'm going to add it to. And once that's added, I could simply go into that module under custom reports, and there is my report or a graph, and simply put in the filter values and click view to see the results. So here are the numbers, but I could also see it as graph. So basically, this is a report of cash requirement for the month by department, which is a great report to have. So I could say, okay, it looks like we need $24,000 for department 300. I could also select the full name of the department instead of the department ID. That's also part of the selection of the fields. Is there any questions related to custom reports or any of the previous things we've shown?
I'll give a couple of seconds for people to type in some more questions if they have any. But we do have one. Where can we learn more information about creating these custom reports?
That's a good question as well. So you can go into help and support. Whenever you're in the custom reports, you could go in and help on this page, or you could go to the help center and look up how you could do this. But it's visit driven. Once you know what kind of report you want, Is it AP bills, AR invoices, or order entry or inventory, whichever the module it is, you select from the list, and then you select and you play with it. And when it's final, you could just publish it to the other users. Now, you also heard from Stephen that there's also the community that's available to you. And there's a lot of videos and articles that helps you with some of these questions as well.
Another question we had that came in was when you create the AP bill cash requirement report, does it pull bills that are posted but not paid?
Yes, I've selected the due amounts and the date filter as well. So you're able to put a filter showing that due value or due amount is higher than 0.
Okay. I don't see any. Oh, we got another one. This attendee is that said, I tried making a custom report and kept getting errors. Where is the best place to troubleshoot these errors?
Most of these errors are intuitive. They do inform you what the issue is. If they are not explaining what the issue is, it could be the selection or grouping or the calculation or the total is wrong. So I would say start again. I mean, it doesn't take long to build a report from scratch. And if you still get stuck, give us a call. We can assist you as well.
Hi, Paraman, it's Joe. Another way you could look at your filters. If you are doing some filtering, you might have had the wrong coding in there, and so it's not picking up that filter correctly. So have a look at that. And as Paraman said, if you do have any difficulties, by all means, give us a call.
It seems that that's all the questions we've got for right now. I will remind everyone there will be a final Q&A session. So if something pops into your mind afterwards, hold on to that question. We will have that at the end of today on track 2. There will be some similar final Q&A on track 1 if you happen to hop over there instead. And just as a reminder, all of these sessions are recorded. There will be the ability to rewatch them once they have been sent out. There will be emails going out about that. So I want to say thank you so much to Paraman and Joe for your help with today's presentation. We are going to take a quick break. We will return at 2:10. The next session in this track is integrations with BAASS Bridge. And on track 1, we have an industry solution specifically about professional services. So we will check back in at 2:10. Thanks, everyone.